Namaste and welcome to this brand new series here on Rosalie Yoga, where I answer your questions about all things astral projection and yoga nidra. If we haven't met already, I'm Rosalie. I'm an astral projection and yoga nidra guide based in Hong Kong. And I'm here to really help you tap into extraordinary states of being through yoga nidra and astral projection. These are states where you can really experience yourself as pure energy and light and accelerate your personal and spiritual growth. So let's dive into this week's question. This week's question comes from Mikey. So this is a short summary of what he wrote. I've been able to exit my body on a few occasions by combining your yoga nidra teachings with binaural beats and breath work. I've started seeing chakra colors when entering the hypnagogic state, and I can consistently lucid dream from there. But I'm searching for a really good exit technique so I can be fully conscious and travel in my astral body. Also, it would be really cool to meet up with other astral travelers, either in a lucid dream or in an out-of-body experience. Are there such places, and how do we find them? Now, Mikey adds, thank you, Rosalie, for your videos. They have been very helpful. Your yoga nidra teachings are a huge part of my spiritual accession process and my regular meditation routine. Mikey, first off, thank you so much for sharing that with me. It really makes my heart soar when I hear stories like yours, and it really is the reason I do what I do. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, secondly, well done you. You've made amazing progress on your own. And just take a moment to fully recognize, how far you've come, all of these steps that you've taken on your journey. And also thank you so much for letting me be a part of that journey with you. Now, you've asked two really great questions. The first, what's a really good exit technique to have an out-of-body experience or an OBE? And secondly, how do we meet other astral travelers during an OBE? So let's start with your question about exit techniques, and I'd like to put this into context. Now, in the way I teach, there are 5 steps to astral projection. The first is setting yourself up for success. So this includes preparing both yourself and your environment. So these are things like your mindset, taking the time to define your OBE goals, and keeping a dream/OBE journal. This is really important. When it comes to preparing your environment, it's so important to have a separate out-of-body exploration area. And you're actually looking at mine right now. This sofa behind me, that's where I do most of my practice when I'm trying to self-initiate an out-of-body experience. What is super important is that it's not your bed where you normally sleep. So step number 2 is to enter and maintain the mind-awake, body-asleep state. It's this dreamy kind of in-between state where the mind is still alert, there's trace awareness in the mind, but the body is deeply relaxed, maybe even to the point where you don't feel the body anymore. So in the way I teach, we use yoga nidra to enter and maintain this mind-awake, body-asleep state. And this maintaining part is really important because what could happen, what often happens, is you just dip into sleep. But you really want to train yourself to keep that awareness in this mind-awake, body-asleep state. And this is an optimal springboard into an out-of-body experience. Step number 3, the vibrational state. And this is a kind of energetic gateway to an out-of-body experience. Now, this is very different for everyone, and not everyone experiences a vibrational state. Up to 30% of people don't. But it can show up in different ways for different people. It can be a kind of a wave or surge of energy rushing through the body. This can be very, very intense, or it can be really light, like little buzzing. There can be some visuals attached to this, like swirling patterns or lights or colors, as you've mentioned. There's also auditory phenomena that goes with the vibrational state, like a loud roar. Many people report like the sound of a jet engine going above their head, or like a pop in their head. Now, what's important to know about the vibrational state is that it can really take you by surprise, as it really can be intense, and especially if you don't know what's happening or you don't know that it can be that intense. The key when you are in this vibrational state is complete surrender. Surrender to all the sensations. And I know that's not always easy because, as I said, it can be really quite intense. When you are in this vibrational state, see if you can remain calm and just observe what's happening without reacting. So you want to keep this element of being a little bit detached from it. You're just passively observing. Now we enter step number 4, and this is where your question comes in, Mikey. Looking at techniques to use to exit the physical body. And this is when you are in this vibrational state, or if you don't experience the vibrations, you're very deep in the mind awake, body asleep state. Now, there are so many techniques that you can try, both active techniques that use your active imagination and your powers of visualization and intention, and there are more passive ones. And I want to say, like, exit techniques is pretty much unlimited because you're going to find yourself making up new techniques just for yourself as your practice evolves. And just by way of example, I had one OBE by tuning in to the purring of one of my cats. I just tuned into the frequency of her purr, and it helped me have an OBE. It was such an unexpected way to go out of body, but it still was just an amazing experience, just that exit. And I actually made a video about it, so you can learn more about that technique in this video, and I'll drop a link in the description below. The whole idea here is really to explore. Remember, I mentioned your mindset when it comes to preparing yourself. You want to have the mindset of an explorer. You're just going to test out new things to discover what works best for you. Because what works best for you will depend on what comes more naturally to you. So for example, if you're able to really visualize very easily with your eyes closed, try the target technique. So this is where you imagine yourself in another location and you fully immerse yourself in that other location, in that scene, with all of your senses. Well, let's just give this a go right now. So if you close your eyes here, can you visualize yourself? Can you imagine yourself being in your living room? Could you feel your feet on the floor? If it's carpet, could you feel kind of how thick it is, the softness of the carpet on your feet? Or if you have wood, could you feel how hard and smooth it is? Could you feel yourself walking around your living room? You're imagining this, but you're also feeling this. You're using all your senses. Could you imagine reaching out and picking something up? Picking up this object in your hands. See if you can feel the object, what it feels like. Is it smooth? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it rough? Just noticing textures and temperatures. And then could you imagine yourself just walking outside? And it doesn't have to be linear. It could be from your living room. You just walk through a wall and you find yourself outside in another scene. Remember, you're using your imagination. You're not limiting yourself here by what's real or realistic. If you're outside, are you in a forest? Can you hear the birds? Are there trees around you? Can you feel your feet down in the earth? Maybe it's soil or maybe it's sand in between your toes. Again, use all of your senses to immerse yourself into the scene. You may open your eyes if they're still closed. And what's super helpful with this target technique is to use a command at the same time. So when you're walking through your living room and you're really fully immersing yourself in that scene, use a command, living room now, or out of body now, something like that. So commands are really, really powerful to use. Now I'm going to post a link to an astral projection guided meditation that takes you through this kind of exit technique when you're walking through your living room. So that's kind of one way you can go out of body, is using the powers of visualization. But I have to say, many people write to me and say that they don't visualize very well. Then I suggest something like emotion-based techniques. And this can include any kind of motions that we do every day, like sitting up, like rolling out. It can also include something like floating up or sinking, or maybe swinging it in a hammock. The whole idea with these motion-based techniques is to rehearse the motion in your waking life. So you're really feeling what it feels to make this motion in your physical waking life. You do it a few times, but with the intention of really feeling into it. And then when you're in the mind awake, body asleep state, very deep there, or in the vibrational state, you tune into the memory of that motion. You remember what it feels like to sit up, to roll out. Maybe you want to do a sit-up. If you do many sit-ups at the gym, which I'm working on at the moment, tuning into that motion of doing a sit-up. So super important though is that you're moving your energy body, not the physical body. Physical body here is completely still. It's the energy body that's making that motion. Now, I once shared this kind of motion-based technique with someone who had reached out to me by email, and we were talking about these different kind of motions you can make, and he was a very, very keen skier. And so I suggested that he use that to try to go out of body. So he would really visualize and feel himself going like down, the slope skiing. And now he's written to me quite recently saying he basically skis out of body whenever he wants to practice. So again, it's any motion. I mentioned sitting and rolling out. Rolling out is very, very common. And you would just practice this in bed, what it feels like to roll from your back to your side. Then tune into that motion again when you're deeply, deeply relaxed. And this is really almost when you're on the cusp of sleep. Again, it's the energy body, your non-physical body, that moves. Now we're going to move on. There are also some tactile techniques. And this is if you can really sense, you have a really heightened sense of touch. And this I'm referring to kind of the rope technique, where you imagine and feel yourself pulling yourself up a rope, or maybe a ladder. If you don't want to use a rope, you can do a ladder. This is a very classic out-of-body technique that was created by Robert Bruce for people who had visual impairment. So again, if you don't visualize well, tune into what is really strong. If you don't have very strong visualization ability right now, doesn't mean you can't work on it and improve it, but it means tune into what comes more naturally for you right now. So try out the rope technique. And again, I've created a couple of videos using that technique. You'll find those links in the description below. Now, those are some of the kind of active techniques you can try, where you're actively using powers of imagination and visualization. But there are also some passive techniques which might come more easily to you because you've already started to see these hypnagogic images. You mentioned these chakra colors. So these passive techniques is where you just stay there and you passively watch any of this visual phenomena, anything that's playing out behind kind of your closed eyelids. And as you watch them, you see if with your awareness, with your consciousness, you could kind of take hold of them and then see if you can start to create a sense of motion. Maybe you can make the colors kind of go forwards and back. Maybe you can make them go side to side. And the whole idea here is that you let them draw you out. So I like to think of this as a kind of magnet. So it's like, you're really locked in magnetically to this and you let it draw you out. Or you can use your intention and say something like, now I enter the colors, and just see what happens. So what's the best exit technique? It's this. The best one is the one that works for you. And the only one to know which one that is, again, is to experiment. Try them out and see what works best for you. Again, really have that mindset of being an explorer. You're just testing out new things to discover the best exit techniques. Now, I have a playlist of guided astral projection meditations to help you experiment. There are many, many different kinds of exit techniques, and I'll put a link to that playlist in the description below. But I do also want to throw in this little bonus tip. The time that you practice really matters. So if you're only practicing at bedtime, it's really easy to drift to sleep. This is probably one of the hardest times to try to have an OBE. What I highly recommend is the wake back to bed method. So this is a proven and highly effective technique, both for astral projection and for lucid dreaming. So just very quickly, very simply, what essentially you're doing is going to bed and then setting your alarm to wake you up 4 to 6 hours after you go to sleep. My preference is 6 hours because I find 4 hours is not enough sleep cycles for my body to get that deep restorative sleep it needs. So I go to bed, set the alarm for 6 hours, and then when the alarm goes off, get up and go to the toilet if you need to, have a little drink, and then immediately go to your out-of-body exploration area. Again, I would be coming here to my sofa, and I would have everything set up ahead of time. There is my journal, there are my headphones, and an eye pillow that I use. So everything's there. I'm not looking for it in the middle of the night. Again, you're prepared for this. So once you're in that OBE exploration area, you want to spend some time, and you'll see what works best for you. I say like 20 to 30 minutes reading something OBE related. The best thing to do is to read a few pages of a book that you're reading, or your journal, but just try to avoid going on your phone. You don't want that blue light. So just read something really, put yourself in the state of like, oh yeah, get yourself excited about OBEs. And then when you feel yourself start to get a little bit sleepy, then you put your book down, you settle back into your OBE exploration area, and this is when you do your practice. And that maybe is one of my astral projection guided meditations, or maybe you have your own routine. Mikey, you mentioned, you've been using my Yoga Nidra, but also breath work and binaural beats. So if that's your practice, do your practice, but do it then in this wake back to bed method, because this really leverages your sleep cycles and optimizes the conditions for astral projection. This is really when you're giving yourself that little extra edge. So the time that you practice really makes a difference. Okay, just to round this off, step number 5 is the return and integration. So when you are out of body and you're ready to come back, you just think of your physical body. It really is that simple. You will come right back, and then just take some time to journal your experience. It really helps to integrate and kind of take what lessons, what learnings, what insights you had from that experience, and then you'll be able to apply that into your everyday life. Now, I've mentioned having an OBE journal twice now, and the reason for that is that it's really, really important to be prolific with writing. The more you write, the more you experience. You're sending such a strong signal to your subconscious mind that OBEs matter to you and you want more of them. Now, if you don't have an OBE journal, you might like to check out one that I recently created and released on Amazon. So there's an introductory guide, takes you through a lot of what we're talking about in this video, but we go a little bit deeper than that. And then there are 3 months worth of pages dedicated for a structured routine that you do in the evening and you do in the morning. And this really helps pave the way for more profound and consistent OBEs, which is my wish to all of you watching this video. Now, let's move on to your second question, Mikey. Can we meet others while out of body? The answer is yes, and it's so much fun to do this. One of my first experiences of having a kind of shared experience with other astral travelers was during a week-long OBE retreat in Ireland. And this is going back like 13 years, 12, 13 years, and it was with Falcon Echemesis, who I knew back then as Todd Echemesis. So these retreats were held in this really beautiful old castle, and the energy there was insane. I actually just got goosebumps thinking about it. You walked in and you could feel it. And we agreed before one of our practices, we would do many kind of OBE practices. We agreed to meet in the living room while out of body. So, we went off and did our practice. I went out of body and I went into the living room and I met 2 of the other retreat participants there. But we weren't the only ones there. There was also some kind of energy from the chateau, and this energy was not very happy to see us. Now, I so wished I remembered all the details of this experience. As I said, it's going back quite some time. And I actually looked for this journal to see if I could read about the experience, but I don't have those journals here with me in Hong Kong. So this is a little extra side note. If you were on that retreat with me and you can remember more about that experience, because we talked about it a lot, can you please message me, because I want to remember more of it. But what stands out in my mind, it was just so cool that it was, we had set this really clear intent and the 3 of us had met there. And there was a confrontation with this energy that we felt in the living room. Now, a much more recent experience was with my husband. He saw me in an OBE and he kept waving and calling to me, but I actually was very focused on what I was doing. I won't share what I was doing, but I was super engrossed in what I was doing in this OBE. And my husband Roy said, I kept shouting you, I kept waving you, and you weren't even looking at me. But he described exactly what I was doing, which kind of blew my mind. So that was our shared experience, a kind of shared experience, semi-shared, because I didn't know I was sharing it at the time. But again, what's really cool is to come back then and kind of tell each other, because that's what I do every morning after I write my dreams. With my husband, we kind of talk about what we dreamt that night. And I told him, I had an OBE. He's like, I know, I was there. And it was quite funny. And he was describing what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, like I thought it was, you kind of feel like you're in your private space, but you're not always. So to answer your question, Mikey, the best way to meet other astral travelers is to take part in a group experiment like this. And there's also something really powerful about group energy. It really helps kind of propel your practice. It bolsters it. And I feel this when I lead group meditations or group yoga nidras. You feel it. Everyone collectively has a little bit of an extra boost. And the other thing it does is it really helps you exchange these experiences afterwards, which is always so much fun to share. So if you are interested in this, I want to recommend that you join this fantastic Facebook group. It's called Astral Projection Techniques. Now, I'm an admin of this group, and it's, in my opinion, really like the best Facebook group you could join when it comes to astral projection. One of the other admins on the group, his name is Leo Ladbrook. Now, he regularly organizes group meetups in the out-of-body state, exactly what I've been talking about here. Leo will pick a target like the pyramids of Giza or that beautiful huge crystal, the Monroe Institute. He sets a time and a date, and then everyone who takes part attempts to meet up at that target in the out-of-body state. So if you'd like to explore this, Mikey, I'd highly recommend that you apply to join Astral Projection Techniques on Facebook and search for Leo's posts. His name again is Leo Ladbrook. Search for his posts in the group and see when the next event is. He regularly organizes them. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What was your biggest takeaway from this video? Please let me know in the comments. What exit technique works best for you? And have you created any exit techniques of your own? Let me know as well if you've had a shared out-of-body experience. Please just share all of that in the comments. Now, this is going to become a regular series on my channel where I answer your questions. So please feel free to send me your questions and it might be featured in a future video. Just drop your question in the comments below, or you can email me at hello at rosalieesilva.com. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really does help support my channel and enable me to continue creating and offering new videos. Now, I post a new video every week. Sometimes it's a guided astral projection meditation, sometimes a yoga nidra meditation, a how-to video, or something else, really to help you open the door to something more, something deeper within yourself and experience these extraordinary states of being. And if you'd like to dive even deeper into these teachings, you might like to check out my free mini course, which is going live in the next few days. Or you might like to look at that journal I mentioned. It's called The Awakened Traveler on Amazon. Or you might even like to check out my signature online course, The Astral Travel Blueprint. Now, the links to all of that and everything else I've mentioned in this video are in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me today, for spending this time with me. I've really loved connecting with you in this way. And I'll look forward to connecting with you even more in the comments. Namaste.